are doing this hearing today, and appreciate hearing each of your opening statements and the approach that you bring. There are so many public and private organizations, along with our federal, our state, and our local governments, that are working to help people climb out of poverty and helping them to build sustainable economic success. In Tennessee, at one point, we had done a Tennessee Women's Economic Council to focus on the issues specifically with women and working moms. And we did that because Tennessee is no stranger to the impact of poverty. And in 2021, 14% of the households, which is over 380,000 households, were considered to be at or below the poverty line. And that's the impact it has in our state. And of that number, just under 80,000 of those were female-led households. So thankfully, Tennessee is seeing our numbers trend downward. People are being lifted out of poverty. We are fortunate that companies are choosing to move to Tennessee, and they're bringing well-paying jobs. But even with all of this, poverty continues to be a significant issue that we are working toward reducing. And I think it does take our different government entities and our community partners to do a good job of moving this forward. Mr. Meyer, I want to come to you. I appreciated your opening statement, and you're referencing the work you did with President Clinton as you worked on the welfare to work programs. You highlight your and many academics' concerns with eliminating the work requirements for these incentive programs. Specifically, you mentioned that this could lead to a reversal of much of the progress that was made since the 90s under the bipartisan welfare reform. So I would love for you to just talk a little bit more in depth about how unconditional cash transfers impact the long-term economic stability of recipients.
Thank you for the question. We saw with welfare reform, when we moved to a system that rewarded work, that there was a substantial decrease in poverty for single mothers. And unlike the changes in poverty over time for other groups, it was due to increased work rather than increased government benefits.
Let me ask you also, I had looked at an article you did in 2019, the use and misuse of income data in extreme poverty in the United States. So how can the U.S. government better work with public and private sectors to account for real income and that real valuation to ensure that the funds are being targeted where they are most needed?
So I appreciate that question. It's one of the biggest issues with moving from something like the current system to a system where you're paying benefits to just everyone. In that case, then you don't have the interaction of social services in figuring out what is the best benefit for people, whether it's money or it's job training or it's some kind of...
So having caseworkers that tailor the benefit to the need. Mr. Collins, I'd love to have you weigh in on that.
Sure. I think it's very important that, well, that the committee knows there's a lot of work that's going on the ground right now. That's sort of what my organization does. We have basically a 7-point strategy for when individuals come in through case management. We ask them what type of job they want. We look at their family size. We do an EITC calculation right up front that spurs their ability to think about what that job looks like. We have basically a 7-point strategy, so we'll talk to you about that job choice at the next meeting. And many programs these days support people through work through 365 days. So we will have that conversation at 30 days, 90 days, 180 days, 365 days. And most importantly, we will invite them in for a free tax preparation opportunity during tax season. And it takes all of that to make sure that everybody who's eligible actually receives the credits they're due for their work.
That's excellent. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.